And I now have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Norma Hollis. Dr. Norma is an internationally recognized authority on authenticity and the founder of the Authentic Energy Leadership Framework. Known as the Godmother of Authenticity, she guides leaders of the early childhood community to align identity and talent to create stronger families who lead children to more engaged and successful lives. She spent 2 decades leading early childhood programs in 2 states, wrote early intervention books and programs for early childhood, expanded the field of children's spirituality, and remains a strong advocate for raising children with an emphasis on their natural gifts and talents. Welcome, Dr. Norma. It is a pleasure to have you here today. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Now, I just want to let you know I'm having some internet problems, so hopefully we're going to go through this easy. So I couldn't get my background up, et cetera, but I'm here, so good enough.
I am so glad you are here. And, that's one thing that we talk to a lot of our speakers and guests and things like we're a family show. Every once in a while, there's a kid in the screen. There's a dog in the screen. There's a whatever. And you know what? That's what family is all about, is loving those things and holding them close. So I'm glad you're here, and we will be.
Don't be surprised if my granddaughter comes up and gets on my lap. She's hearing me talk and she's over there. So it might happen here.
That would be amazing. We would love it. All right. So we are talking about solving the people puzzle, how the personality changes everything at the home and the school, making sure that we're connecting into authenticity. What was the pivot point in your life, in your career, that made this something that you really wanted to share with families?
Well, I was 28, and at that time I was directing Head Start programs in Detroit, Michigan. And I was married, and I followed all the rules I was told, and I was my mother's version of who she thought I should be in the world, and I was miserable. And I had no idea who I was. I was married to the wrong person, and I wasn't going to continue life like that at 28, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who I was. And that's when I just stopped and started assessing myself. I found 9 energies inside of me. And I connected that with astronomy, astrology, ancient history, a bunch of other things, and came up with a grid, which I call my authenticity grid. It took me 30 years to put it together. I didn't think I'd be studying human nature for that long. It's perfect for what we're dealing with now, and very aligned with the speakers you've had, particularly Stanley and the message that he recently gave. But in my early childhood issues, I really saw as a director how happy the kids come in. They come in and they can choose where they want to go and do what they want to do. And as Dr. Emily mentioned, in kindergarten, in elementary school, you have to sit in line. You have to raise your hand for everything. There's no go to the bathroom when you're ready, like it is in preschool. So that's when you kind of realize it's not like exactly I thought it would be. And then when I was the first woman to own a speaker bureau for Black speakers. And when I had that, I had these adults coming to me saying, Norma, I've been in the work environment for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and I've lost myself. And I can't find myself. Can you help me find myself? So my research was what happens from these young babies who are happy-go-lucky to these adults that get caught up in whatever society is bringing them or whatever, and they lose themselves. And how do we help them to reattain that? And so that's when I turned my 9 energies into a grid that now is used internationally. So it was just a natural progression of doing that.
Oh, you were yeah.
She can come say hi if she wants. Go ahead.
Yeah, we'll say hi. That's totally fine. Yeah. So what is it about a child's gifts and talents? Let's get practical here, right? What are parents looking for? How do we know it's one of their gifts and talents? And how can we really help kind of boost that for them?
Well, I used the work of Dr. Howard Gardner. And he was a psychologist who in 1983 published a book called The Multiple Gifts of Intelligence Theory. And he identified 9 gifts that we all have. And he did this for the purpose of helping educators teach in a different way. So I'll mention those. And I took his work and took my own view on it, because some of the gifts he has are right brain gifts. If you know right brain, left brain, your right brain is the creative side. So those 4 gifts are your visual spatial, children who love color, as Stanley talked about, and children who are very visual. They like to draw, they're doing things, they're drawing on the walls early and stuff like that. Then you have, and these are traits that I also share with adults in addition, because if you're not working or doing something in the areas that are your gifts, you're probably not as happy as you should be. And that's affecting your authenticity and therefore how you're role modeling for your children. So visual spatial is a right brain gift that children are born with. You can see them easily by the colors that they are attracted to, by like my little granddaughter is already written all over the desk over here, but it can wash off, so you can see where they're guided for. You can see the visual spatial, by that. Bodily kinesthetic is another, and that's moving and touching. And you see children that want to climb out of their cribs, children that are very musical, music is another one, and they know rhythm, and they like to sing, clap, and make sound. And then the other one of the right brain is naturalistic. They love to be outside and be around the things that are outside. So that's right brain. Your left, and the right brain gifts, babies are born with, and they show it to you in different ways. So you have to kind of watch them. And I have a 14-day and a 20-month-old here now. So I'm really watching them. And the 20-month, in fact, yesterday, she amazed me. She's potty training, kind of, sort of. And she came to me, Grandma, I got a potty, got a potty, got a potty, got a potty. I took her out of the high chair, unbuttoned her, took her diaper off, sat her in a potty. They said, no, upstairs, upstairs, upstairs. Okay, fine, we'll go upstairs. She gets upstairs. She goes to her mother's soda bottle and wants some soda that her mother just bought. So this complex thinking at 20 months, and knowing that if she tells me bathroom, I'm going to react, and I'm going to go upstairs anyway because I want that soda. So that's one of the left brain gifts, which is mathematical logical. So she can figure stuff out early. Now, children aren't normally born with that because you have to learn the numbers in order to do math, but there's a certain affinity to it. And then the mathematical logical are people who see the big picture, and they can make decisions and make changes and what have you. They can make advice as well, and they direct well. And the other left brain one is verbal linguistic. I'll get it right. Verbal linguistic. Those that like to talk, they like to read, they like to write, they like words. And then we have what I call personality drivers, and that's interpersonal, people who love other people. Now, this child here, I took her outside yesterday, and every person she came across, hi, hi, hi. So we know some training is due there. So we can see what her traits are. And then you have your intrapersonal, those that go inside. And then you have the last one is not well shared. When I was doing the writing on this in the 80s and the 90s, I couldn't find this ninth one. I looked everywhere and I couldn't find it. And even now, if you research Dr. Howard Gardner as the multiple gifts of intelligence, it will only give you 8. But if you ask for the 9, it'll give it to you. And the 9th one is existential. And existential are these children who really, and they're coming into the world a lot now because they will tell you who they are. They have these exceptional gifts, and a lot of parents don't get it, and they don't understand these children. And when they are understood, and when you just observe them and start helping them to be raised by the gifts that God gave them, then they have the strength, no matter what happens in the world. They can find a way to survive and to be themselves. And by being themselves, research says that the highest vibration is achieved through authenticity, not through love. They thought it was love, but it's authentic. We all want to be who we were born to be. And we don't even realize it sometimes because we're taken off course as early as kindergarten. Raise your hand, don't be yourself, do what I tell you to do, etc. So shifting that is really important. And if parents can understand that and put that in place, they create a brand new generation that has the sense and the confidence to help further generations move forward. So that's what it's about.
Yeah. So my strong one in all the ones you listed, it's like, okay, I'm kind of there. Okay, and when you said existential, oh, yeah, that and the fact that it's like they don't even hardly talk about it because so few people actually understand it. It's like that really describes a lot of the stuff that I kind of went through, because it's like I saw amazing things in people and then they acted like people do, and that just really like was difficult for me because it's like, how come you're not acting like what you are? And so
the existential was my reaction too, because I said, well, then I must be intrapersonal. That must be me. But when I finally found it and read it, I said, no, that's it. That's the one that I am, mostly. Now, the other thing I want to mention is that, God, from the research that I've done, and people I've talked to, is fighting back from what's happening in the world now. And so we are moving from Homo sapiens to Homo luminous, and that means more illuminated. And you can recognize that in some children. In some of these children, they come to the planet with their foreheads, pineal glands out. So we're flat, but their forehead goes beyond their nose, and you can recognize them that way. And when you hold them close for a long time, then they have more brain development. And these are the children who generally are more spiritual, more sensitive. They are the ones who kind of come to the planet knowing they have something to do. They'll tell their parents sometimes where they were. I had one lady when I worked for the Catholic Church for a very short time. She said, "Oh, thank you for telling that. Now I know why my son tells me he was from Alaska last time. And before then, he was a monk." And it was, so you have children that will say things that are totally bizarre to parents that don't get it. And it really creates a lot of challenge. So, but raising them by what they tell you who they are and what they do until we try to change them. So.
And part of that also, we hear, that child is an old soul, or they understand more than their years of experience, kinds of things. It's those kinds of connections that we really see in the children, and that we want to really develop, right? Again, it's not that they have all the answers and we just let them do what they want to do, but we want to help guide them and raise them up to understand their worth, their beauty, and then how do we work through around society, et cetera, and help them shine and get what they need.
Right. Because growing up, I didn't see it as a gift, and it made people kind of afraid of me and standoffish. So I needed to be something different than I was to fit in, and people didn't understand how to talk to me and to relate to me. So yes, I became something different on the outside, but on the inside, it's like, had that been able to be expressed to me earlier, it's like I can see a lot of ways how my life could be different. So I tend to, when I find those people, it's like I give them a little more humanity instead of instruction, because that really tends to be what they need. But again, you knew that because you didn't find out until later as well. So how, again, well, I'm not going to focus on that. So how do we start recognizing more of the temperaments? Do you have like a template, or you said a grid? And once we recognize it, it's like, this is my temperament. How do I work with this child and make them feel
and create the environment,
their authenticity, if I don't understand their authenticity in mine?
Well, one thing you want to keep in mind is that just like character is built in the first 5 years, that's when your spirit takes grip on the planet. And if you're trying to get the child to be left brain, to be smart, to read, to do math before their time, you're taking away the time that the spirit can develop. Because the spirit only develops in a sense of freedom, because you have to be free to see the spirit. You can't see the spirit if you're in a box. If you're in a box saying you have to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, all the time, and the child is learning rules rather than learning who they are, then they're moving beyond what's really important, and then that stays with them. That's how they learn life. And if you learn life with that structure, then it's really hard to come back to the spirit, because the spirit is there. You're born with nothing but spirit. You watch a young child in a crib, and they're goo-gooing, and they're happy, and they're smiling and laughing. What are they doing? What are they talking to? Okay. So I'm a person who has memories of before birth. So, and I share that only in certain environments. But what I do know is that I was given an assignment, and many of us talk about purpose, and children are given an assignment too. So oftentimes when they start talking about what their assignment is. They remember. Okay. They don't have the words before 3 or so, and they don't even understand that we don't talk about that in this place, but so they talk about it. So it's just important to listen and hear. My little 20-month-old was talking to one of my friends last night, and my daughter and I were just cracking up because she was just going, nobody knew what she said. She calls me Gigi. We heard her say Gigi, and we heard her say, "I love Gigi." Come on, honey. And but you have to let them do that, and you have to listen and see what they're saying, and not try to stop them and read. No, that's not the right way to do it. You got to do it like this. You got to draw in the lines. You got to stay in the box. No, it's outside of the box that things happen. That's where life happens. Come on. That's where life happens.
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I still say I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do when I grow up.
Exactly. Aren't we all?
Right? Because at some point I hope I do grow up. And then it's like, no, I don't think I want to grow up. I just keep
Right.
getting older and I'm not ever going to grow up.
I agree with you. I don't want to, I want to laugh and have joy as every day that I possibly can. So I'm enjoying these 3 weeks I'm here with these two babies. So it's just a
That's
joy.
amazing. Yeah. So when we're building environments in our home and even learning environments, right? Because we branch a large range here, the regular public school kids, the homeschool kids, etc. What are some of the key things that you would love to see in environments that help really bring forth this authenticity?
Well, I'm thinking about that with this toddler here. And I went and bought some colored paper and some colored stickies and different things like that. So I want to set up the home here in a way that wherever she goes, there's something there to help her educationally. And that's fun. And then play with her a lot. And to bring out her spirit, get to know who she is. You mentioned old souls. I gave her a new name a couple of days ago, Oso. Oso means old soul. Okay. Because the way she manipulated me yesterday. But I had to ask AI about this behavior, and they said it's not manipulation. That toddlers are scientists. They're figuring out what works and what doesn't work. And you have to allow them to be the scientist. You can't tell them stop all the time. You have to explore with them, encourage them to explore, and encourage them to see what life's about. This one also loves going outside. She's already told me, I'm going outside today, Granny. Take me outside. I said later. But you have to listen. You have to allow them the freedom to ask you, and then respond to them when you can.
Yeah,
All
exactly.
right. So that brings us kind of back to school because you said that sitting them in a box, especially boys before the age of 7, because they move until 7. It's like, and then you put them into school. How can you still foster this if you're not able to pull your children out of school and they still need to be in that environment? How can you keep that alive with the time that they're spending in school actually actively kind of taking that away from them?
Well, I think what I'm thinking is when they come home from school, have some exciting activities for them that's related to what their gifts are, so that they understand. I mean, the family is the foundation of all of our sense of self, of our comfort, all of that. So the more you can make the family life joyful, the more you raise a joyful child. The
Yeah.
more you make the family life aligned with, I loved how Stanley talked about the colors, and this is the orange child, this is the green child, and that's what we're talking about, identifying where they're different. I remember when I was a kid, and people would tell my mother, your daughter is so this and so that. Her answer is always, all my children are like that. All my children are great. Well, I needed my own identity. I didn't want to be just grouped with everybody else because I'm someone different. I'm a little bit like you, a little bit on the spectrum, maybe a little bit, and my existentialism, they didn't understand. So all that got in my way. I just shut up. So, you don't want to shut a child up because communication is so important all through your life. And if you shut it up early, you shut it up for decades. And so just being reminded that what you do and give them in that first 5 years lasts a lifetime. And it's harder to undo it than it is to just make it appropriate in the very beginning.
Oh, I can totally
Yeah.
attest to that. The way I kind of say that now is the gifts people are seeking me out for now, the way I talk, the way I help people. It's like that made me so wrong as a child and ostracized and put out that it is hard for me to bring my gifts out now because for so long it made me wrong. It made me
Right.
different. It made me an outcast. And now people come to me for that. And it's not as easy for me to bring that forth. It's like, hold on a second. It's like my sense, my safety is involved a lot in hiding those aspects. And now you're reaching for me and trying to pull that out, and that gets really uncomfortable. So if you can keep your children from not getting into that, into being able to express their gifts at an early age and not stifle that, then yes, then this 56-year-old guy who is desperately trying to pull that out of myself so that I can bring it out and still having so much issues with that. It's like, wow, I wish I had known some of this earlier. It's like, right?
Yeah, I can relate entirely because, I remember my father saying one time, well, who's going to marry her? She's just too smart or whatever. And so, yeah, and so with all of that, I had that introvertedness as well. And as an entrepreneur, it just doesn't work. You can't be an introverted entrepreneur. So you don't know where your child's going in the planet. So why stifle anything that's a part of who God made them to be? Just, anybody know better than God? God knows where you're going and what's in line for you. So just align yourself with the gifts that God has already given your child. I call that legacy. We call legacy on the planet what you leave to your heirs. What I call legacy from authenticity perspective is what were you born with? And how are you going to leave your own legacy with what the gifts that were given to you from your creator? That's your legacy. What were you given and how are you going to use it on the planet?
And I really want to encourage parents here to make sure you're being the role model, right? If you're hiding your gifts, if you're hiding your talents, what are your children going to see and model after? They're going to go, oh, it's not safe to put that out there, or oh, it's not safe to, express myself in this way. So, we have to live within our society bounds, right? There are certain things that we just can't do, but at the same time, get as much authenticity out there as absolutely possible. Dr. Norma, this has been amazing. Thank you so very, very much for this. Would you please talk about your free gift that you have for our audience, and then also your VIP?
Yes, my free gift is called Honor Your Spirit. When I directed Head Start programs a few decades ago, I wrote a lot of books on children's spirituality. And this is one that it's about 50 or so just statements about children, young children, on how they come into the world and how God has made them and how important it is to listen to them. So some you may agree with, some you may not. It's okay. But they're definitely food for thought. But it's having you just have more of a consciousness of how children come into the world and what their consciousness is when they get here. So that's a free gift. Since this is not what I do full time, you're going to send an email and we're going to send it back to you. And then you'll get it that way. And the free gift is taking my authenticity assessment. It's a grid of 9 dimensions that we consider the energies that create authenticity within you. It's based on your inner voice that no one hears but you, your outer voice, which is how you're perceived by others, and your expressive voice, which is who you become in the world. And it also talks about the dynamics of are you either a thinker, a communicator, or a doer. And it gives you a lot of information about yourself. So what I'm offering to you, the assessment itself is complimentary. And I'm offering you a one-on-one interpretation because you will get some scores, but you won't know what to do with them. So if you reach out to me, then I'll be able to put your scores on the grid and give you some feedback that resonates with you. And as a result of this call and this summit, I'm going to be thinking about creating an authenticity grid for children because I think that would help parents to recognize their children's gifts and talents early, and then therefore help them, go in that path of who God sent them to be. So you can get you have information about how to get everything. Good. So.
Yep.
Everything. And one of the things, so we've had 3 people so far talk about personality, and so many people think that, personality is who you are. And the way I kind of describe it is slightly different is personality is who you start out to be. It's the gifts that you are. And then you use your personality to build your character. So it's like, I'm an introvert. It's like, but there's times where I need to go out. So knowing that I'm an introvert, I can now choose to learn extroverted tendencies. That doesn't mean I'm going to become extroverted. It means that I will be able to learn how to operate in that environment based on my personality. So my personality isn't who I am. It's a series of default modes of being that I build to be able to, and that I build on to be able to move in society. So it's like I use my personality to build my character that I bring out to the world. And so that just another beautiful way of saying that, of starting with that, because it's like you're being authentic, but then you're authentically building how to be able to relate to other people as well. And so that's just been a common theme from our first 3 speakers so far. And I just absolutely love that. And I think that's going to continue. So thank you very much for being here.
I call that alignment. And I also call authenticity alignment. So that shows that you 2 are extremely aligned and aligned with who you brought on your program. So congratulations to you.
Thank you so very, very much. And thank you for being here today.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
And your granddaughter's just adorable.
Yeah, adorable.
Well, I'll bring the 12, the 14-day one down later then, but he's
All
sleeping.
right, cool for the panel discussion. Awesome. Yeah, no, we talk about it all the time. We are a family show. If a dog shows up, if a kiddo shows up, if something happens, it's what it is, and that's who we love. That's why we're here serving all of these wonderful people. So just a heads up, what's coming up next is when we come back on screen, we will not be the hosts. We will actually be the interviewees. We have a guest host that will be interviewing us coming up next. With our talk and our talk title and our gifts to you. So please hang out for a couple minutes, get your water, take your break, and we'll be back at the bottom of the hour for our next speakers.
Us.
All right. Bye, guys.